It's time for the moment you've been waiting for.
Get on with it.
Bitch!
You stupid
LackaDaisy for the video with silver. Well, it's about time you lazy UHE.
Hello again, independent media enjoyers and/or haters.
Sweeps!
I have a question for all of you. Does anyone else think the term indie is losing its meaning and becoming a buzzword for marketing hot garbage by corpos and frauds? Join me today as I finally yap your ear off about my disgruntled mood with the independent media scene. So let's just hop right into it, shall we? As I said in the beginning of my Frebbventure video, we're living in the age of the independent artists being more successful than corporate-controlled garbage. Do you remember when Lethal Company outsold Modern Warfare 3? Yeah, this is the world we're living in. A furry solo dev outsold a AAA studio and now has a Fortnite skin. Like, how lucky can a guy get? Now Lethal Company is irrelevant thanks to people making clone games with flavors, like Content Warning and Repo were just another flavor of the month, to be honest, and fall under the term friend slop. Being games made to be played with your personal friend group or whatever, and then after a few sessions, never to be played ever again. Now I'm just waiting for Repo to get a clone of itself with more content unreleased, then people are gonna flock to it and forget about the whole funny text-to-speech cliff farming robot game.
Hello!
If that does happen, I'm gonna be a little sad, because Repo does have a lot of potential with its gravity gun-based gameplay. You know what I mean, a little pickup thing they do with the arms and whatnot. This video has been in development for so long, they're now in Fortnite too. What the hell? Well, the real problem I started to notice is how the term indie feels less about independent creators and more about marketing, either being used by corpo giants like Amazon and Roku to ship out slop, or be a shield towards criticism, so brain-dead fans will harass you for daring to dislike a product because, guys, you need to support indie creators, guys.
no.
When at points it doesn't even feel like they're the little guy anymore, have joined the establishment or have become their own establishment. Feeling just as cheap and lifeless as any other corporate garbage out there, but giving out the same quality products that are already being made by big name studios. Like with a certain show being partnered and showed by one of the most biggest multimedia empires next to Disney, and people will still say its trash spin-off is still indie despite being attached to a show on a giant streaming service, getting backup funds for means other than just self-funded merchandise. Oh wait, it's on Amazon now too, with
The quirky animation about supporting indie creators.
Oh my god.
and it adds changes to the episodes for re-release. And they now have a Splinter studio in Australia and are making a Homestuck series. Even the Sharpie Huffers thought its pilot sucked.
Animation takes a long time.
I'm not even being subtle. Busy-Pop stopped being indie years ago, right after she sold her soul to Jeff Bezos, making a metaphorical and literal deal with the devil. I mean, I guess that was their goal, to get picked up by a major network, but now look at her. Wow. Nice Guinness World Record that even your own fans are smart enough to know is fake. Same fakeness goes for FNAF with Funko and Steel Wool and God knows what other brands Fingers McFosbear's partner with. And a really big example is Minecraft being owned by Microsoft for like a decade and a half now, to the point where it's just everywhere, it's inescapable. Like, has Mojang made any other games recently that aren't just Minecraft-related spin-offs?
Chicken jars.
Boy, do I sure love updates to add a few blocks, a passive mob, or a very situational weapon like the mace. That just leads me on to another point I have with this abused term. When is it still indie anymore? Is it when a guy or a small group makes a piece of media that gains some fans or traction? Or does it still count when it sells a shitload of merch, has connections to other quotation, indie quotation media, and / or starts its own company and got funding from the Australian government?
Oh, boy, look at that keyboard.
Yeah, I'm just gonna cut to the chase and talk about the company that's making the most overglazed independent media out there. I think Glitch majorly sucks and its spotlight shows are quirky, chungus, epic
VOIDSTORM.
the same levels as modern Disney Channel trash.
No! You cannot say that!
Really? Wow.
Why am I here for this bit?
I'm going to talk about my thoughts about the company itself later, because that's completely different, but holy cow, I cannot get why people like Murder Drones and Digital Circus other than, look at the animation frames, whoa, so smooth, while they're not really moving at all.
And my favorite character is a wholesome bean.
Or because it was shilled by every other major armchair critic cartoon reviewer with a critical analysis of a burnt potato.
Independent creators just killing it. Again, I can't applaud it enough. I'm here for it. In a day and age where we feel so much fear for the creative...
Let me tell you how much I've come to hate you since I began to live.
Well, how many videos Sabersparks made glazing IndieSlop with no critical analysis whatsoever? You can't tell me he wasn't paid under the table to shill this shit. For God's sakes, he was on one of Glitch's circle jerking streams with Senior Pello. There has to be some indie cabal going on here. Now, how much adrenochrome do you think they all individually take?
The goyim know, and we catch them down.
Hell, I'm not even into a show yet, I'm already injecting my venom. Okay, I get that the audience for these shows are mainly Tumblr teenagers and middle schoolers, but half of this shit just feels like key jiggling with shitty English anime dub voice actor levels of performances.
Who said it doesn't work? Maybe it does!
The first time I tried watching Murder Drones, I couldn't stand the first episode with all of its "how do you do, fellow kids" and millennial humor dialogue. For example, ironically, unironically using the term
Toxic masculinity.
Also, I'm an angsty teen fad, bite me.
it's trying way too hard to be funny every time it gets a chance by using terms and slang with no real build-up. And when What's-His-Face voiced by Indie Chris Pratt came on screen, I think his name was N, and I found him so annoying I wanted to hit him with a truck at 100 miles per hour. Talk about a bad first impression, I already want to see one of the main characters get thrown to a trash compactor. Then later on in the episode, I see what it's trying to set up with the robots questioning what the company that built them is going to do to them after their mission of eliminating the worker bots is over. It finally gets a moment to slow down and not throw its humor at you every 12 seconds, and then the fight scene happens and we get more of that self-aware humor that's trying way too hard. Guys, it says best monologue ever.mp3 on this character's screen face. What was her name? Uzi, like the Israeli machine pistol, saying,
Put that conventionally attractive male down.
Put that conventionally attractive male down. Put that conventionally attractive male down. Put that conventionally attractive male down.
Put that conventionally attractive male down.
Robot fanfiction. Trash.
The only peak about this is how it feels like peak band kid humor. Like, was there nobody saying to slow it down with this kind of dialogue or throwing out a punchline? Is it just,
That was weird.
Oh my goodness, this is awful!
Terrible.
yeesh, people say my mimetic YTP humor is annoying and then they watch this schlock.
Jesus.
Okay, maybe I'm being too hard on this. After all, this is the first episode, so maybe this series does get better as it goes on. When going into episode 2, there's what seems to be a flashback scene with the murder bots being worker bots in this old mansion, and there's a party going on, and ooh, this is actually starting to look interesting. I'm surprised to say that I didn't hate it as much as episode 1. It actually tried building up its underlying plot more and had less of that god-awful humor in the first episode, but by a large margin, it's still insufferable at times, as that's merely due to its safe, edgy lines and silly voice acting.
This is probably you weirdo's fault.
I've never seen that symbol before.
Wanna do an autopsy to find out?
You're not scary, you're just weird.
I think the show does a good job setting up its horror elements and overall mystery of what's happening with the weird absolute solver entity and what it's doing to Uzi, turning her into some vampire flesh robot thingy. Doesn't really excuse all the tonal whiplash, the glaring plot holes, and how hasty the main plot feels. Why are the disassembly bots allowed to be around the worker bots in episode 4 like they don't have a history of maiming them? Why is death treated seriously sometimes and the next moment a punchline for a visual gag?
I guess that's it.
It's like the show doesn't know what it wants to be at times. A perversely told horror story about mankind's neglect and hubris coming back to bite them in their own scented creations via a planet-eating eldritch monstrosity.
We're trying to be hip with the kids while there's super relatable moments and quirky slang, bro. It's totally not monotonous and overstays its welcome.
Oh, hell yeah! I'm a damaged OC.
Kill yourself!
Now do you see my point with how bad the dialogue for this show can be? And most of the meaningful character development happens right at the end of the series. And does feel more the stereotypical socially awkward loser around episode 5, but it's so light you notice him standing up for himself right at the end of the series, and meanwhile Uzi got way more focused with her powers, her background lore, how it affects her. They're both main characters by the way, but one gets way more focus. I mean, I did like the last 2 episodes and felt the build-up for them was good. I just wish this series had more time to flesh itself out rather than a measly 8 episodes. I was surprised that Tessa was just Sin in a flesh suit. Like, I did expect Sin to be Tessa, but I'm not really sure if I'm surprised as a plot twist or a rushed writing choice. There's also a lot of blinking or missing plot points in the background explaining stuff. Like, I had to get one of my buds who's way more into this lore to elaborate shit to me. Like, the Solver is the eldritch entity that's using Sin as a personality slash host to talk through. And the Solver itself raises even more questions, especially with the ending with Sin being inside Uzi's body as this little tail thing. Way to go to end your series with more plot threads that will never be answered. Unless you count a Living Tombstone music video. Look, call me back when this has less millennial and band kid humor and knows when to balance out with serious and funny moments. And gets double the amount of episodes in the last season, cause Liam Bickers can do a lot with his setting if he decides to fully lock in and make a season 2. I mean, you got a graphic novel with art from the guys that did the Power Rangers comics, and that's just a retelling of the series, like, okay. Let's just hope Glitch doesn't do more character assassination with shit like this.
Go ahead and kiss me on my hot mouth.
Well, if Murder Drone surprised me after its first episodes being a train wreck, you know what didn't surprise me at all?
Welcome to the overly obvious Circus! I am not doing a full parody intro, get bent!
Mega faggot!
Despite its first episode not scaring me off, Digital Circus has been one of the most overhyped, overglazed, overshielded pseudo-indie cartoons out there.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
Everybody says this show is deep and engaging, and to be honest, it really isn't that deep at all. It's very on the nose and blunt with storytelling. The show throughout all of its mystery and foreshadowing in episode 1 with an exit plot point, every episode after feels like wacky things are happening and then overdramatic trauma dumping scene for light character development. The feel so ham-fisted you can see future plot points in the ending from a continent away.
I don't want a career in fast food. I want to be a comic artist and eventually launch my own manga-inspired webcomic. And it's cool to have dreams.
Hilarious and
relatable.
Every episode is laid out in the exact same way, where you can just summarize what's gonna happen and when it's gonna happen. Let's go on a crazy, wacky adventure! Wacky, quirky things sure are happening! Woo!
I don't like being in the digital world and my insecurities are popping up.
Trauma dump therapy bit for a character or two, depiction of realistic panic attack, yada yada, wind down with foreshadowing for the next episode. Rinse and repeat, over and over again. You see, this time it's different because the Buddy Man has an overdramatic crash out scene. With voice acting so over the top, you think it's from a bad English dub of an anime.
I think we did that joke already.
I'm just a misunderstood little chicken fetus in an egg that needs to be cracked open. Well, I am not. I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. I'm the one who causes pain for fun. If I led you on, it was just to make this part hurt you more. There's nothing more to me. So please, just stop looking.
That was terrible.
I kid you not, when I was watching episode 6, I saw the Jax crash out scene from a mile away. It's not like in episode 5 with him showing a softer side, it wasn't going to lean into that. Obvious emotional vulnerability is obvious. You could have cut out this whole scene that spoon feeds to the audience that the Rabbit Man's coping mechanism isn't working anymore and just kept the revolver mag dumping scene along with the mirror scene at the end of the episode and it would have worked just fine, maybe even better. Ever heard of Salty? Show no tell? Nah, that doesn't exist with Glitch, but more zany millennial humor and in-your-face trauma moments where the characters are going, "Wah!" Now that's something we can hand-fist to our product that totally won't get annoying over time. The show is the most predictable bullshit I've ever seen. I can tell that this is going to be rinse and repeat until the end, where the AI Chattery Teeth Man, based off No Mouth But Scream, is going to just finally rage out due to his insecurity building up. You know, here's what I think was going to happen in the last 2 episodes. Static.
Hey, it's me, Jax, voiced by Michael Kovac, voice actor of every Tumblr sexy man in IndieSlop since 2020.
Fuck! I'm having a realistic panic attack! I'm extracting!
Oh, whoops! Looks like the chick bag is extracted! Whoops-a-doodles! Got to throw him into the paper shredder!
I'm coming!
This is all your fault, Teeth Man! You made everyone go insane and we can't leave! A blah 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 expository crash out scene for the millionth time, more overdramatic voice acting.
I'm turning evil!
You know what? Fuck all of you! You don't like the adventures I make, so I'll just turn everyone into abstract piggy goy-slop monsters.
Wait a minute!
Actually, I'm really sorry for insulting you. You try your best to entertain us, and I know that's the literal only thing you're programmed to do, but we all need a break for this VR hellscape. Can we just please leave now?
Apology accepted. You can all leave now, but please come back once in a while and just visit me.
Really? You're just gonna let us go like that?
Psych! No! Fuck you! You're here forever. Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. Anyways, I'm gonna shove a nuclear bomb up your ass like the area chud I am.
What the fuck?
I swear if I predict the ending to the show 1-to-1, I'm gonna need a crystal ball and a pack of tarot cards, because that's just proof I'm a psychic. I think a lot of Glitch's recent shows suffer from not having enough time to focus on making their story/character development feel natural or engaging. A lot of things just feel rushed at times. Like with Murder Drones, it doesn't know when to chill out with its humor, and I don't blame people that get details wrong with its lore because
Quirky chungus, I have crippling depression.
humor gets spammed into the last few episodes. And Digital Circus feels so formulaic and bare bones, the mental breakdowns in almost every episode make it feel like a bent piece made by a teenager in high school who cuts themselves. Kind of removing any of the shock that these characters are edging to their sanity's breaking point. It feels like BoJack Horseman level writing, hitting you on the head that these characters aren't mentally well like a rocket-boosted sledgehammer over and over and over again. It's not shocking or deep, it's just expected. You already know what joke I'm going to steal for this bit. Sad words, but a clown girl! Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but I kid you not. I wake up one morning, see this on my Twitter feed, this absolute truth nuke. And then I find out that Awful Fawful drew this. Yeah, the YouTube poop guy, also known as Nays, also known by his not safe for work alt, Punt the Poodle. And you wanna know what he drew? He drew the Makima fart gif. Oh my god.
Bowser fart.
You're all first life. Bow fart. You're all fart. You're all fart. You're all
Bowser fart.
I'm going to shish.
Come on. Man, the pot's calling the kettle black with this one, but like, hey, come on, Waffle do be kind of right though.
We now join our regularly scheduled penis already in promotion.
Gooseworks can cope all he wants and say this show is made for adults, but no matter how many crash outs his little scrinkly dinkly cartoon characters has, or how many scary monsters he puts into the show, it still feels like a show written for a Y7 rated audience. I don't know if I can describe it well, but it feels like the show is unable to break some maturity seal where it starts feeling darker and for an older audience, you know? I'm not saying, oh, it needs more like obvious horror moments or whatever. No. Think of it as like the beginning bits of season 3 of Reboot. Where in the last episode of like season 2, it establishes like Megabyte and Hexadecimal are gonna be bigger threats this time. And then episode 4 of season 3 happens where everything changes. The heroes lose. Like, I'm not saying to be exactly like that because like Reboot is a completely different story than this. I just don't think Digital Circus has that oomph moment to it, you know? Because every time the show is trying to have some deep character development moment or whatever, right in the next scene it gets completely ran over by the show's tropey writing or god-awful humor. To hammer my point again, it just feels repetitive as hell, the same shit over and over and over again every episode.
Okay, well...
Originally I was gonna put a joke here satirizing fans glazing the show like,
No, guys, you see, episode 7 is gonna change everything. A character might actually die this episode.
And then episode 7 dropped while I was working on this video and, wow! I am not surprised in the slightest, but hey, at least he avoided killing off a character mid-climax. At least he avoided that cliche! You can see the plot twist a mile away with or about the context of I have no mouth and must scream.
You see, guys,
This wooden mannequin dude over here isn't really a game dev that wants to help everybody escape.
he's just a trick from Kane.
This is just a parallel to the ice cavern scene from the original book. I'll congratulate the episode for having a different tone for once and had way less of those quirky chungus moments and actually felt like it was gonna go somewhere. But I still saw the ending from a mile away. It just doesn't surprise me. None of this surprises me. And it shows only complex characters to me feel like Jax and Ragatha. What will happen in episode 5 with Ragatha finally breaking character for once and getting fed up with Mr. Bundyman and, well, what they finally did in episode 7. Cause in this panic attack, they don't just have some blatant crash or whatever, they actually like showing tiny little bits of his past or whatnot. And not just fully explaining them, but meanwhile the other characters, well, they're just kind of there.
Hey there.
Gangle feels like a timid artist that wants to do more or whatever. Pomni feels like an absolute nothing burger. And we already know from the first episode that Kinger is the main dev, the creator of the Digital Circus. Acting all weird and insane in the first part, but is probably being kept on a mental leash by Kane. Something, it's confirmed that King can control how people behave. And speaking about the teeth, man, Kane just feels like one of M, but no hatred or bloodlust in the slightest, and he was the insecure artist. Yeah, I really don't like Kane. And Zubal's another voice of reason character, but instead of being nicey-wicey, she has angst to her, and is totally not the writer's self-insert.
Even Reddit has noticed that.
Ew! While being less annoying and vapid than murder drones, I think Digital Circus stalled any impact it could have had by saving it all to the very end. I don't think the show is all that deep as people say it is, and that's why I just think it's just generic tripe. It's definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, but it's just so cliche to me, it just feels boring as all hell. Following back to my point earlier that I made on why I think glitch shows need way more time to develop their characters instead of relying on cheap tropes and cliches. Again, it's the overly obvious circus. I'm not really surprised at all by what this show brings up. There's only 2 episodes left, and I'm not going to be surprised if the final episodes don't make me cry like the actors reading the script did. And this is the part of the video where I have to obligatorily bring up controversy. Sorry for the whiplash, people. Okay, you know the drill. You know I gotta inflate the runtime of this video somehow. It's not a Silver Fox 1232 video without me talking about this kind of crap. I know about the Gooseworks EPI thing thanks to the Funny Man with Glasses site and Carl Sama's video about it, and while my chud senses are tingling and my gut is telling me to say the P word, there's only like one screenshot of this. I know your disappointment, Chuddies, but it's hard to believe if it's true. Even the soy wiki mentions it's yet to be confirmed. There's no ages, there's no full DMs, or knowledge of Goose even knowing the person is a minor or not. Not to mention dudes making inspect elements for cheap rage bait.
You know who I'm talking about.
Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to undermine this or defend Goose from this allegation. It's just, if this is true, it should be handled by pros and not gay YouTubers looking for cheap clout like me. All I gotta say, Chuddies, is keep your eyes open. I wouldn't be surprised, especially with the King of Voice Actors controversies. Oh my god. That's a feral Luxray. Okay, back on track to my major point. Glitch's show is feeling rushed and unfocused. Metrorunner at least had 3 seasons to flesh out, and that was Glitch's first major show, and to be real, I dropped it right after season 1, it didn't really interest me. Something about esports, cyberpunk, that Tari girl being a robot, I don't really remember all that well, but I heard it was an alright show. My point is, these runs and ham-fisted humor are concerning for Glitch's future. For example, their new show, Gaslight District, shows a lot of potential in places, but I think this is the first time I've ever seen people criticize a Glitch production show without having a mob of indie yes-men dislike bombing them. The pilot sets up a lot of plot threads and doesn't answer them right away like digital shit ass, but goddamn does this show suffer from a pacing issue. It's got way too much to say in a short amount of time. Focus on the main plot and side plot, please. It feels like a soap opera how much it bounces all over the place. Action scene here, plot bait here, shitty attempt at humor there. Seriously, why did we need a goofy little song for the cement boots bit? Family bonding scene here with the main character and her father that's actually a really good slowdown. Wait, we're in heaven now and this bank heist trying to steal an egg. The rapture happened. The main character is this human homunculus angel thing that can bring the end of everything. What? I mean, the show does look interesting, but it really needs to learn to focus and not cram so much stuff into one episode.
Pain is...
Along with also suffering from Glitch's trademark humor. Now, to a certain somebody in the audience, you might be saying,
But that about SMG4?
Babies!
Oh, you mean that Mario 64 Machinima skit show that had vulgar 2010 humor that started adding a bunch of various glub shittos such as Annoying Glub, Mary Sue Glub,
Will from afar, the only good one.
Anime Stereotype 1 Glub,
Anime Stereotype 2 Glub,
Chasington Bait.
Planet Dolan.
It just evolved into Cocomelon content farm trash. Almost every joke is just wiggling a Gmod ragdoll around and acting like it's animation or an existing popular meme, but doing the equivalent of putting a scotch tape cutout of some fugly OC's face over it and acting like it's your own joke. Compare that to their older episodes where they were more transformative with that kind of humor, you know, like taking bits from Smosh episodes like clips or whatever and using them as sound effects rather than just copying the whole Smosh skit word for word, bit by bit. I also think I just grew out of this stuff. I can't stand like the whole entire oh nose and all the fucking sound effects they do over and over and over again instead of actual dialogue. What was Little Silver thinking when watching this crap?
You need to grow up.
There are so many videos going in depth about how SMG4 fell off from this funny haha Mario 64 Gmod Machinima channel into, well, generic YouTube kids content right next to Ryan's World. I'm just gonna do another lazy YouTuber link a lot of those videos in the description because I do not give a flying fuck about modern SMG4. All I gotta say to end this segment of the video is, I think anybody who unironically uses SMG4 reaction GIFs is too young to use any social media, and deserves to be shot.
Drug out into the street and shot.
You know, speaking about channels that sold out to the extreme, I'm starting to see a lot of parallels between Glitch and Rooster Teeth. Both started with a video game machinima series that was their backbone. It was funny for a while, and then it became stagnant and evolved into something else. With Red vs. Blue becoming more of an action show and less of a sitcom thing, and then later milking itself by throwing whatever at the wall and seeing what stuck.
Master Chief is coming to Fortnite.
Also, Rooster Teeth made Ruby, and I tried to watch it years ago, and I got the same effect when I tried watching the first episode of Murder Drones. Millennial stylized humor mixed with so many anime cliches and exposition dumping, I felt like I was watching something made by Sam Fenna, but a little less edgy.
No. Shh. He is legend.
Oh, and I guess Camp exists, and wow, more unfunny humor where everybody's a jerk, instantly forgettable.
Violence never solves anything.
Stab her, bitch!
They also had a mecha show that nobody cared about. I mean, I don't blame him. It looks like it was made by the marketing team at Netflix. Yeah, I'm not gonna be surprised if Glitch starts getting a bit too samey in the future, with their next show, Nice of Guinevere, being made by a chick who made Owl House, another quirky millennial humor-infested show. Things don't really look too good. Well, this video took so long to make, can you guess what premiered was making it? Another cartoon that will get superficially praised cause good animation and basic criticism about Disney, and nothing much else. Nice of Guinevere gave me a lot of vibes that the Netflix Devil May Cry show and Captain Laserhawk gave me. Not very good vibes at all.
And why did you do this?
All the characters felt like carbon copies of each other when it came to their personalities. Everybody talked and felt like an angsty teen, even the old man Scrapper dude. Nobody feels like a different character, you know? Unless you count Temu Walt Disney over here and his daughter, which just felt like generic mustache-twirling villain and obsessive villain. The dialogue feels right out of a modern dime a dozen Disney show, ironically, especially with the vendor scene. Holy crap.
But everyone's so busy picking apart each other, they don't see the corporate hand at the wheel. You think a cog like me has power? No. I got more to say. Your attention's divided, man.
This feels like a comeback you think of after an argument is over.
Fucking pathetic.
At least we'll give it one pro that it didn't reveal everything in its pilot, Digital Circus, but still feels more like a disgruntled vent piece about Owl House being canned rather than an interesting show concept. I'm placing my bets this message is going to be more ham-fisted as the series goes on and not handled well in the slightest. It's like all this show has to say is, Disney bad. They abuse their workers and profit off recycling ideas rather than being original. Let go of nostalgia or something. Now give me Reddit gold while I make something the same quality as a modern Disney show. And that's the only thing I see the show being praised for and nothing else, cause despite the show being based on Walt Disney's Epcot City, it already feels shallow and preachy. You see why I feel like the show is gonna be another case of the Devil May Cry series? I don't think Dina Terrence is making the next Shrek with his soapbox speech of a pilot. Hey, here's some advice, learn not to write or do the same tropes of a modern Disney cartoon, or at least do an interesting twist on them. Don't do it one for one when it comes to like character dialogue and that crap. Make characters that are people, and not just a bunch of millennial phrasing and slang, making them all feel like the exact same person. Make something that isn't the last thing you made, but instead of annoying Harry Potter girl beats Owl Baba Yaga in the magic dimension, it's Cyberpunk 2077 with 2017 Tumblr character designs and blue robot gore. Bruh, if I get the whimsy enforcers in my comments going,
It's just the pilot. Why are you criticizing it?
That's what they exist for, you dumb fuck. This might sound a little bit off topic, but this relates to Guinevere and a lot of other indie shows and just modern media in general nowadays. I think a problem with a lot of shows nowadays is that people aren't making actual complex characters anymore that feel like people, but more something that's made to cheaply relate to. For example, like, OMG, they suffer with working jobs. They're so random, haha, but also suffer the depressions and kerfuffles, too. Copy-paste over and over for the whole cast. You know, loser characters that people who think life sucks can quickly latch onto. Yeah, I work 2 jobs. You ain't special, buddy. Everybody needs employment to live. Oh, LackaDaisy was picked up by Glitch, and I guess I gotta count it too. The only pro I could say for it is that it has better pacing with its plot, but that's really about it. A 1920s Prohibition-era thriller, but with Tumblr sexy man cats and so many screechy voice actors that made me feel like I was going deaf. That or all the maniacal laughing that everybody was doing in the pilot.
Jesus Christ.
The first half feels so stretched out and unexplained it's unbearable, and don't get me started with the nothing speech in the beginning. All we really get is, these cats are unearthing buried alcohol for a bar. Rival cats come in shooting them because they're competition. Nothing really hooks you in here. And then there's the car chase scene. Like, how do you make a car chase with the Thompson 45 boring? That is the Mafia gun. If you make that thing boring, I think you should get a nice pair of cement shoes, if you know what I mean.
It's time to drink water.
And the saddest thing about it felt like things were starting to kick off and get explained at the end, and that's a real downer. I heard LackaDaisy started as a webcomic, and it really does feel like a product you need investment in beforehand to get any real enjoyment out of it. I'm just sorry to anybody that has any major investment in LackaDaisy, because coming from an outsider's perspective, I don't think the pilot does a good job hooking people in, and I am not interested in a single character here. They all feel like nothing burgers with funny laughter. And then you see the other animations they put on their channel, and they're a lot shorter, but not as vapid as the pilot. Like, why did they try to do something like this first? Oh yeah, I forgot. Also, shoutouts to the creator for telling Busy Pop to fuck off. That's something I can respect.
Based!
So yeah, I just flat out don't like it. I don't really have a big reason to hate it. It's just not my cup of tea.
No!
But hey, good animation equals good product, and that is that. Don't actually think about the media, just consume it. The car keys go jingle, jingle, jingle as we constantly get your attention with unfunny, quirky chungus humor. Buy an overpriced plushie while you're at it, just consume product. Go to Japan and buy the digital Circus Jack's Burger. Play the so retro Mario Kart ripoff we hired Monolith Bloodborne PS1 to make. With graphics so ugly and unfaithful to the original hardware, and makes their neoclinic want to explode. How dare you dislike indie products, sir? Don't you know you're literally committing murder when you do that? I'm sorry, but you clearly are a miserable nigger when seeing people liking things, and you lack joy and whimsy. Good day.
Ooh. Silver, what you're doing back there is villainization. You really shouldn't be doing that. Did you also know that SMG4 was bullied and ending his series? Shut.
What, so being independent media excludes people from thinking media's garbage? Holy glazing, Batman. I swear the phrase support indie animation is becoming the next animationist cinema. Well, in some cases, it really isn't indie anymore. That's a lie becoming more noticeable as the days go by and the merch ads get more obnoxious. Hey, at least Skibidi Toilet is honest about being a sellout, and that's just cool robots versus toilet aliens or whatever. Nothing but hype moments and aura made off one video that should have been a shitpost back then. And it's still animated by one guy in Source Filmmaker. One guy in Source Film- Oh wait, never mind.
Skibidi Toilet.
Oh wait, a company cucked them over.
Fuck! Wait, what?
I think it's about time I talk about how Dishonest Glitch and a lot of big shot indie creators that sell out will still use the term indie for advertising and /or a shield towards criticism. Static.
Oi, Bay! The Goyim is noticing things. Shut it down! Shut it down now!
I covered this in my intro a little bit, but now I'm going to start elaborating on it. I think the term indie has lost the original meaning and has become more of an advertisement selling point used by corporations and their puppets, or as a shield against criticism because it was made by the little guy with very heavy quotations. Which makes you wonder, how much can you excuse under that one term? How much can a dude delude themselves into thinking that these companies are the little guy anymore when they're everywhere in brand deals and success? Like, when is the line drawn here? That's my major question. Now first, let's talk about selling out. And I'm not talking about making a Patreon, a Ko-fi, or a little bit of merchandising with those cheap t-shirt websites, or doing a makeshift or U2's plushie made out of blood, sweat, and tears of Chinese orphans. Keep these people in your prayers tonight. They gotta be making shit like this for the equivalent of a US dime.
Cancer!
I'm talking full-blown corporate or shaking hands with corporations. I've already beaten the dead horse that is Busy Pop and Spindle Horse, basically being a part of Amazon now to the point that I can say Otherside, a show made by one of her animators, is totally industry plant. I mean, come on.
Come on! You spent more time animating 2 ads selling U2's plushies and not working on your main pilot. It's not even out yet, and you're already announcing another pilot too. Come on, finish your shit already. I bet you didn't even know about this existing until I brought up the market. This shit is never coming out. Not even the power of indie Chris Pratt as a Twinkie giraffe can save this. Other side, more like no side, cause it's never coming out.
Sailor, please stay on track. You are getting off topic again.
Oh fuck, I forgot.
Hey, who's the clanker?
So what does this have to do with Glitch? Well, my problem is that Glitch is right on the borderlines of where Vivian is. You thought the Amazon distributing deal they did recently was the end-all be-all? Nope, that is only the tip of the iceberg of things they've done. Metroloper got funding for Epic Games because it was made in Unreal 5. I already made a joke about the Australian government giving them funding, like that doesn't glow in the dark like a 3-letter agent. Screen Australia is the Australian federal government's key funding body for Aussie screen production ever since 2008. That means Glitch is not just funded by Japanese consumerism, they're also funded by Aussie tax dollars!
Holy fuck! Yes, SMG4 glowing in the dark. You just run them over. That's what you do.
They have ties to the people who advertised Apex Legends in Japan, explaining why Digital Circus is so popular there, and speaking about Japan, first a temporary pop-up store, and then a full-blown burger cafe in Osaka, not to mention that these guys have shitloads of merch everywhere. I can walk by Hot Topic and see posters and t-shirts of bird drones and Gaslight District, and on my way to GameStop or FYE I see Digital Circus posable action figures and plushies. And I know the common cop-out to this criticism is, well, Glitch needs to make money to survive, you know. Animation is really time-consuming and expensive. They need to pay their employees. Did you know that making merchandise does not disqualify you from being independent? Which is true. Making merchandise does not disqualify you from being independent, but that's not my problem. My problem is, how many corporations is Glitch willing to handshake to get where they are now? How many times are they going to do stuff like that until we just stop calling them independents? Because I don't think taking $1.3 million from your government is independency. Think about it for a second. How are these guys a little independent group again? It's more like they're a very successful independent company that has gotten a lot of handouts from the corporate elites and a literal government and was just lucky enough to not have the metal in their shows. By the way, if you think it's just Glitch I'm complaining about here, no. They're just the most notable example of this problem I'm having. Yeah, I've seen the Mob Entertainment, Examination, Poppy Playtime Nerf Egg Shot Blasters, the Hell of a Hot Topics, the U2s and FYE and Spencers, the Garten of Band little figures and whatever. I've seen all this shit when walking around malls. I'm not really surprised by these levels of selling out anymore, but I'm still damn well disgusted by it. The problem I have is just how dishonest these big guys feel. It feels like at the same levels of a corporate suit saying, we're fighting for the little guy, when in reality they act the same way as corpos do. Or, more recently, shaking hands with them, i.e. the Amazon distributing deals and whatever else I mentioned earlier. When are people gonna realize that these guys aren't just a little group anymore, they're also a well-known company too that makes a lot of profits? Spindle Horse, Glitch, Rooster Teeth, Devolver Digital, New Blood. Yeah, sure, they're not corporate sized and they treat their employees well. Well, most of the time. The problem just goes back to how dishonest I think this all feels. Again, do I need to mention the Digital Circus Cafe in Osaka and the Jack's Goyslop Burger? When are you people gonna realize this? They are huge now, not some little group of Newgrounds animators anymore. They're a business, they give people jobs. Reported to be about 100 plus people for Glitch, and about 224 for Spindle Horse thanks to LinkedIn stats. And no, I'm not saying that them employing people is a bad thing. Quite the contrary, people have to work on garbage sometimes to get that bag, you know. Hell, one of Glitch's lead animators is one of the dudes that worked on the later Ice Age movies, Kevin Temmer.
For the fur fags to my audience, this guy is responsible for those hot alien scrats. I'm not apologizing, he knew what the fuck he was doing.
I want to move on to my other point with the whole indie going borderline corpo thing. How the phrase support indie animation has become the new animation is cinema by mindless consumers. If you've been on my side of the internet, you know exactly what kind of dude I'm talking about here. That guy, when it comes to talking about any media negatively. The guy who thinks he's culture but eats the most mainstream stuff out there. The guy that watches Baby Boobop slop and thinks it's peak fiction because some Diamond Dozen cartoon reviewer said so. The guy that will get threateningly angry when someone doesn't like something they like, acting personally insulted like he shot on his mom's grave. The guy that goes,
You're just jealous of their success? Support any animation when it's something they don't like? You lack joy and whimsy?
That fucking faggot.
You know, dudes will just eat up anything because it's indie or is using that term as a label, and then act like you sinned against God because you thought the next big thing was just like the last big thing. Like they think you want the whole independent art scene to burn because you got problems with the next big indie show or think it flat out sucks. I mean, I don't blame people for wanting it to burn when a majority IndieSlop is the same quirky trauma-dumb garbage that Corpo suits shit out because fake relatability and self-deprecation sells. Dudes will say this cheap, repetitive copycat shit is changing the industry, when the reality is proving you gotta recycle ideas over and over until there's nothing left but cheap meta-humor and mental illness glorification over any actual plot, characters, or even setting up punchlines for jokes. Hey, Ending Silver here. I'm gonna go a little bit off script here, but a lot of stuff's been happening. I really need to talk about this. So recently I've been seeing a bunch of Digital Circus fans coming out of the woodworks and saying, hey, I really wish this character-driven show had a lot more time to flesh out its characters, because, let's be real, they're a little bit shallow and its climax doesn't really feel that deserved. And despite feeling vindicated, I'm not the only person that thinks this. Like, I'm just seeing people do the most dumbest offenses like, oh, well, Goose said the show was supposed to be short, so that fixes the problem. That's not the problem here. Just because the creator said the show's supposed to be short doesn't really excuse the problem that fans have with the characters not being all that developed. This is the kind of glazing I hate in the independent art scene. Like, dudes will just bend over backwards to defend any of these major shows for the most minimal amounts of criticism. Like, saying that you want the characters to feel more fleshed out isn't even that harsh of a take, and I'm a harsh critic, but like, you see the fucking quote retweets and they're like doing shit like this.
Just consume product and then get excited for next product.
You're a fucking faggot.
To be real, I think Glitch has accidentally bred one of the most toxic, entitled, and consumerist fan bases out there, and I don't really fully blame them. It's mostly because their demographic being Tumblr teenagers and Redditors. I mentioned it earlier about audio, but I gotta do it again, because Glitch fans getting angry that Goose didn't make Ragglitha that much of a main character is really fucking pathetic. Another thing I noticed with Spindle and Glitch fans is that they are just unwilling to interact with anything else in the independent art scene. Stupid. What, can't mention Monkey Wrench, the third runner-up that doesn't have some indie company behind it, or Corpo handholding either? It's made by a bunch of Newgrounds dudes that know when to blend comedy, lore, and action bits together without feeling annoying. They know how to do pacing, and the only sin it's committed is having Doobus Goobus in one episode, and that guy's crime is being unfunny as fuck.
Kill.
Too afraid to mention the simplicity of Flashgitz Warhammer 40k parody Spaceking? Let me guess, because you're a furry that doesn't like it when people make fun of you, or he made the relic known as Racist Mario.
Wah, he made edgy animation. This is my safe, wholesome, safe edgy.
At least Flashgitz doesn't jerk off Amazon or Epic Games to get funding. The guy literally parades around and he's self-funded and actively rejects sponsors. Mad fucking respect, dude. I mean, I guess a small criticism I could do for Spaceking is that it feels a bit too overtly simplistic and it beats the same joke of heresy of Space Marine over and over again. No, don't get me wrong, I think Spaceking has its moments and it's a great step in the right direction for indie animation. I just wish it could stand up for the same dead, beaten 40k joke that every single Redditor has milked over and over again, that are being based once in a while.
Tell him about per capita. I'm getting to it.
I mean, I like it when the show has this dude bro haha funny moment bits when like the characters are just fooling around and being idiots. Other than that, I think the show is actually alright. Anyways, Hatemonger carries the show on his whole back. I also bet that none of these indie consumers even know what Ongezellig is, and that might actually be a good thing. Finally got to watch some of the web series and good on the fanbase from gatekeeping it from SaberSpark. I already know his fans would either ruin the show or whine about his humor.
Soda mates?
Sad that the show got cucked by its own creator, though. Or hell, even lesser known shit like Dinosauria, Costco Fahrenheit, Humans Be Gone, Dudes of Hazmat, anything made by Umami or stop motion artist out there. Ever seen Chuck Steele, Night of the Trampires? That technically counts. Even the dude that made LT Gray's making something that's independent and actually aimed for adults.
Boobies.
Also, don't forget Mammal Squad. I mean, I can even count Modern Puppet Master from Full Moon Features. I heard their comics are good, but their modern movies, not so much.
Oh my god, guys, you have to try this new product. It's called the Fortune Teller.
Sorry, I've just been so busy. What are you doing tonight? Do you want to come over?
Let's go.
What's it?
You know what? Fan games and animation count for this argument too. Remember I showed Star Fox Event Horizon? That fan game project that brought back some of the original actors from the games? They're now selling tabletop models based on the ships you could pilot in the game, and they're not just game rips, they're all handcrafted in a 3D software known as Maya, with a resin printer.
You know, it's even funny that fans are actually more responsible giving characters merch to a giant corrupt Japanese corporation.
Walten wanker.
Hell, I haven't even gotten into the indie game scene yet, which I think is less corrupted by uncreative redders just doing an Ouroboros of quirky, quirky, quirky. And that's three shots of whiskey for that line. Say goodbye to your liver by the end of this video. But before I get into the video game stuff, I gotta talk about something else, something a bit more creepy, something that'll keep you up for 5 nights. Yeah, indie horror is arguably worse.
Don't pee on the floor, use the Commodore.
Modern indie horror has 3 flavors: analog, mascot, and walking sim. The copycatting here is even worse to the point AI channels are joining in. Angel Engine's plot is all over the place. You don't even know what time period it's set in due to its AI imagery and added robot voice acting. And its main theme is about man's over-reliance on machines corrupting our worldview. A series about technology corrupting humanity, made by AI. Oh, the irony.
Fucking stupid calculator!
I mean, Urban Spook could have been scary if it wasn't mostly a slideshow going over a demented serial killer's art pieces and paragraphs about how they brutally killed and maimed people. Repeating one of my points from earlier, Show Don't Tell really could have worked for Urban Spook because there's no build-up, there's no scare, it's just describing a murder over and over and over again, but it's a little different this time. And here's some creepy-looking art. Woo! Also, shoutouts to the creator getting harassed because he made the serial killers genuine horrible people that do terrible things to kids, too. You know the fuck I'm talking about. No, Twitter, not everyone who makes horror killers that level deranged is the Dormitalis dev. And then we have people making the next, ooh, stretchy faceless scary. Woo. Hey, editing Silver again. This segment was originally going to be me making fun of the whole stretchy McLawn face tropes and how everybody just copied what Mandela Catalog did and just railing on Walten files for being incredibly trope heavy, but in retrospect, I think I just get way too harsh here. Like, even the creator of Walten Files admits that the first 3 episodes aren't really all that good, and he's remaking them, so good on him for that. The only criticism I still keep from the original bit is that I think Walten's animation style, being incredibly tween-heavy, ruins the uncanny vibe and just goes into straight-up silliness. Like that one white guy jump scare in their latest episode, it looks goofy as fuck, dude. And then you compare that earlier to what he did in the episode with him just staring down the hallway, like barely noticeable. Like, that was actually a pretty good scare. If you want a video going more critical about the Walten Files, I would recommend Metroloper's 2 videos about it, especially his second one because it's more refined. I also railed on Mascot Horror 2, basically complaining about how they're all just a bunch of walking sims with you doing a bunch of shitty puzzles. Like, Poppy Playtime, Indigo Park, and all that stuff. And I'm gonna be real, that segment was kind of doo-doo too. They just go on about how they're all a bunch of walking sims with you doing a bunch of jack-easy puzzles over and over and over again. Like, there's a segment where I was comparing Poppy the Indigo and, like, Mr. Bluey McLonghands over here just crawling down like a spider, just wanting to rip you to shreds in this conveyor belt segment. And then in the other chase scene in Indigo, it's just, like, really clunky as hell. My biggest gripes with Indigo, it just feels like a lower budget Poppy Playtime, but with furries and an annoying raccoon.
I cannot stand Radley's voice. I really want to punch him in the face.
I wanted to cut down this segment more because it felt like it was wasting time. I'm sorry, but anyway, on to the next segment. But yeah, Silver, since you talk about how much the indie horror scene sucks along with their games, how about you talk about, in general, the indie game scene sucking too? Well now. I do think the corporate problem with indie games is a way lesser problem compared to animation. Well, unless you count Helldivers 2 and Arrowhead getting chain throttled by Sony to where the game was almost getting metaphorically cucked by PlayStation accounts. If you want to play the technicality game, Arrowhead still is counted as independent, just like Glitch. They just get some of their funds from the Chinese government compared to the Australian one. Tencent!
The answer is yes and no.
Disgusting black.
And that new Bubsy game with a terrible voice acting being made by indie studio. I think that's more of a commission thing, though. And don't get me started with DD Bust Up with Black Ribbon being in it, or web fishing with NSFW lobbies and groomer problem. Also, by the way, Shardy won, web fishing lost.
Pizza!
And then there's Roblox games, and you know exactly why I'm not talking about them. There ain't no party like a condo party! Shoutouts to Schlepp and Ruben Sim, but anyway, back to my main point. So the main problem I have with indie games is just how repetitive all these titles could be, and they always copy the worst aspects of themselves. I've already talked about FriendSlop at the beginning of this video, so I don't need to bitch about the next Lethal Company clone. If only there was a certain 2 games we could blame for this stagnation and over-stylization.
If you will, oh my give you rains, I buy the chungus and rice.
Ultrakill and Cruelty Squad hit the annoying boomer shooter fanatics like crack in low-income neighborhoods in the 1970s. Lord help me with this segment of the video, because I'm going to have to keep my chud filter on, so let's get into the start of the problem that will eventually become its own video in the future. If I can even stomach playing this fruity Quake wannabe. I'm gonna be real with y'all, I can't stand Ultrakill. I can't stand anything about it. I think it's an over-flashing mess that keeps insisting on itself. To the over-the-top story with blood power robots and humanity being in a war that killed everybody and God just up and left. That modern anime dub quality voice acting from Gabriel Giovanni over here. And those so retro PS1 graphics with clashing model polygon counts and everything looking like it has a pixel filter on it. Makes a guy that actually played PS1 games like Spyro and Pac-Man World want to vomit. This is why I played on PC graphics for this video. I mean, to be nice to it, the gameplay is solid, but once you know what you're doing, even brutal mode can feel like a breeze. After finally giving the game a chance, my first level ranking was a B, and then I got through the first act, and I just button mashed a Tumblr Sexy Man Angel. This is on normal difficulty, and the game's first major boss. This feels like a joke, alright? But what about Minnow's Prime? I'm not dealing with Minnow's Prime. I'm not jumping through a bunch of hoops to get to a boss that has some decent challenge of voice acting. Look, I gotta get this video out now. Maybe in a future video where I rip on this game more, okay? Even for the sake of this video, I tried Brutal Mode and got a P rank on level 4 in a prelude. It's just, something about this game feels mindless to me in a way. Again, once you know what you're doing, it's just easy to jump off a wall and get a combo multiplier, then kill a bunch of enemies in the most basic ways possible, then boom, basic S rank or even a P rank. Yeah, I really don't think Ultrakill is all that hard, along with its fanatics being a bunch of backseat gamers. Yeah, if you've seen Squidboy in that one white NecoArc streamers video, you know what the fuck I'm talking about. All I'm just saying is that, pistol only should be a flex, not a shame, but Under the Mayo lives in the head of every single Ultrakill fan, so his bad take ruined that grace for him.
You suck!
And to finish off this part about why I don't like Ultrakill, I have 5 words to say. Official dev butt plug support.
Let's really do something, Timmy?
This mod was also endorsed by the official Twitter, by the way. You know, now I see why this game has the audience it has. They all like taking it up the butt. Okay, now I'll do a shorter bit of a game I actually like for its artistic liberties. Cruelty Squad. And how nobody gets what makes it work. Now, Cruelty Squad's whole thing is designed about being unconventional and frustrating to the gameplay, with its biggest example being the reload, the schizo-level storytelling, and especially the art style being a neon papier-mâché vomit nightmare. Everything has a certain level of frustration and stylization, but not to the point where it's gonna make you sick. It's not moving all over the place. And the game's jankiness makes it not a full-on pain in the ass to play, but still, well, a little annoying. If you want a real pain in the ass, I heard you should try 100%ing it. Stock market sims and fishing minigames. God, I hate these things in any video game.
Fish!
Now, the real problem here is not with Cruelty Squad itself, it's with the copycats. The people making the next Quake-like FPS and copying certain aspects for the popular ones, but it's only on a surface level, and it's always the worst aspects and never the good ones. One thing I'll give Ultrakill in good game design is the game's speed. You're fast. Really fast. But not too fast to the point where you feel like you're a drunk driver. You're all in control here. All the homicide you're doing here is on purpose. Meanwhile, everyone else trying to do that overloads the screen with so much junk, and it feels as slow as a snail on a Sunday stroll through the woods. The reason why people are hating on these new indie games like Cyberlich and Tamakashi isn't because some chuddy said randy game, it's just flat out. They look like ass. They look cheap. They look like they're gonna give me a seizure by playing it or put me to sleep. Like, how do you screw up a first-person shooter? It should be really simple when you look at the formula. Don't clutter up the screen so I can see where I'm shooting. Make things feel hectic and not a boring slog. Like, how does a schizo trip like Carnal get this right? Most other these games don't. These games look like that one Doom Dark Souls HUD display meme. They look like they were made to jingle keys in the face of someone instead of making something out of any actual passion. Just copy what other popular thing is doing, but make it worse. That's why people hate these. They're not being their own thing. It's copycatting what's popular with the most bare-bones effort to make it look different, not some chuddy neo-Nazi dog whistle like what Dumpster Man wants you to think.
On this issue. But if you truly hate indie games to the point where you feel the need to go to bat against them online, in my opinion, this is at absolute best extremely anti-art. It tells me at minimum that you view video games as a product that exists to maximize profits only and not art that can be created by an impassioned individual for just the sake of art.
It tells me at minimum that you view video games as a product that exists to maximize profits only and not art that can be created by an impassioned individual for just the sake of art.
And this just brings me back to a point I made earlier. The dudes will eat up anything just because it's indie. You know, the dudes will unironically go,
support indie unless it's someone you don't like?
You know, the brainwashed consumers that will get pissed off to hell and back when anybody dares dislike the next shield product. I think people need to realize that just because something is indie doesn't always mean it's gonna be good and we should shield it no matter what. We shouldn't just be excusing trope-heavy garbage just because...
Well, it's made by the little guy. It just came out. The art's good, so...
Don't ask questions. Just consume product.
Okay, you want to support indie devs? Okay, go play Steal a Brain Rot on Roblox and spend $5,000 in it. You'll really be showing me, dude. Also, buy stuff from LankyBox and consume Mr. Beast products too. Come on, guys. In a technical sense, just like Glitch, they're both counted as independent content creators. Now, don't get me wrong, there are good pieces of independent media still being made. The problem I have is just the same garbage gets shilled over and over and over again, with excuses for mediocrity being made because of good animation, and then we get the same garbage made by corporations with the same boring premise and the same similar story beats as the last big thing, claiming to be deep or action-filled when they fall into the same pitfalls as their predecessors. Boring, substanceless tripe made for safe, edgy teenagers. Oh great, another indie show or game with jokes that are way too self-aware to the point of winking and nudging over and over that there's something more to it, and in reality it's the most bland and flashy piece of media out there. With characters so shallow and full of relatable moments, or the most drawn-out, in-your-face storytelling, and the same kind of millennial humor over and over again, it's tiring, but hey, the animation's good, so nom 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 nom! Where are the dudes making action cartoons at the levels of SWAT Cats or Transformers? Like, Madness Combat and Spaceking exist, but everybody knows about them already. Where are the dudes making real dark shit like Lisa the Painful, managing to be funny while also being messed up and having complex characters?
Okay, well...
Well, it's out there. Some places deep in the net, you just gotta find them. Not the next overshilled thing claiming to be original while copycatting. This is why I wish more people were harder on independent media instead of just eating it up, but there will always be the next shill, an army of yes men that will bum rush a guy for saying, this thing sucks. Bruh, look at this shit. This dude makes a good video criticizing Knights of Guinevere, and a bunch of sycophant 12-year-old glitch fans dislike bomb him. Again, how are we not in an indie dark age again? And don't get me started with what Wastelandia fans did to Oh Yeah's video, like, holy crap, look at his ratio, like, damn, you thought he was harsh on this shit? You know what's the hardest part about this video? Figuring out a way to end it. There is irony about me making this video and having a comic that never went anywhere, but did I quit? No, I still draw stuff and have ideas for things I want to do besides making videos complaining or calling the next big shot YouTuber mid. I have designed stuff. I've designed characters for an indie game. By the way, play Frebbventure and its sequel Alliance if you really care about independent artists. The game is basically made by one dude, Albeit Alien. Sub to him on YouTube as well. And I'm still working on the designs for another friend's comic. You know, Roy, his comic, Silent Wind's Camino. And then there's some Star Fox Event Horizon fan thing I want to do, and a shonen comic about some vampire sheriff. But enough of my hobbies and chivalry, get back to my point. So in my advice, don't ever quit, no matter what dudes say, because if you quit, you fail, and don't be ever afraid to say that something sucks either. Listen to what people have to say and why they're saying it sucks. Learn from it. Don't fully ignore critics because dudes can get mean. Harsh critics exist for a reason. There's a difference between a person being a dick-ass troll and saying something sucks to get attention, and then there's a person actually concerned about a product's quality. And if you honestly enjoy any of the things I mentioned in this video, fine. If you don't treat Digital Circus like the second coming of Christ or Hazmat Helliva as just a guilty pleasure, fine, I legitimately do not care. How do you think I have any ground to stand on for not liking slop? I'm playing Fallout 76 in this footage. It's just my dumb fun game. I just wish dudes would stop with the blind praise of indie stuff and dudes would stop overusing millennial humor and tropes to cover up laziness in writing. I think I can finally end this video now. This shit took me forever to finish due to work and whatever else I had to deal with in real life. Anyway, if you like this video, leave a like. If you hate this video, leave a dislike. I'm an SM.232, and just because it's indie doesn't mean it's good.
Finally, I can say the outro again. Next time on Silver Sat 1.
You got